Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. And now for the last race of the first ever Formula E season, coming to us again from London. Make sure you watch yesterday's video to see the recap of the first race. But now the title decider is here. PK versus Buemi versus Di Grassi. Who will be the first ever Formula E champion? How exciting was this final race? And afterwards we'll discuss just generally what I thought of the first ever Formula E season, which I'm watching in its entirety for the first time since it happened. I've watched bits and pieces in the years afterwards, but this was the first time I've gone back and watched the whole damn thing. And so the grid is exactly the same as it was yesterday, as in the drivers are the same, not necessarily in the same places. So let's see how this second race in London goes. And make sure you subscribe because we'll probably be doing this again for the second Formula E season at some point, and it's worth sticking around for. So let's get this race started.
And then down towards the second one here. A little bit of dust kicked up by Bruno Senna, who's running in 6th position at the moment. Heidfeld, Durand, Di Grassi and Verne completing the top 10.
To make a pass here, you're going to have to set it up a couple of corners in advance. It's not just going to happen. You're going to have to start setting it up, coming out of the 8, getting to start defending into 9, 10, 11, 12, and you might then make a pass into 14, but it's going to take a bit of work.
Now, there's a massive gap between Oliver Turvey and his teammate Nelson Piquet Jr. It's 5 seconds between Turvey and Piquet. So maybe his car got damaged or something in the opening series, or he's deciding to save an awful lot of energy because he joked that, you know, I don't want to get stuck behind a Trulli, but currently Trulli's stuck behind him. Look, here's the first group of cars. This is the top 11, all coming past us now. There's the fluorescent and silver car of Oliver Turvey. Then there's his teammate.
22.5.
All the way back there. That's
Nothing big happening off the start. No big crashes or anything. A few cars made up quite a lot of places. Jean-Eric Verne got a very good start. Nelson Piquet made up places, but he seems to be playing the energy game. He is falling back a bit from his teammate, but I'm sure it's tactical. Other than that, Stefan Sarrazin is leading the race. I'm not sure how many times in his very long motorsport career he actually led races, but it's nice to see him up there. We haven't seen that much of him this season, so I'm rooting for Stefan Sarrazin.
across the line comes Stefan Sarrazin. An incredibly successful racer. He's won rallies, he's won car races. An absolutely diverse racer. And Jerome D'Ambrosio is just at the fastest lap of the race in 3rd place. So I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe the Dragon cars swap if Sarrazin starts to get away, but both Duval and D'Ambrosio have started to close back in on Sarrazin now.
Loic Duval has had just a pretty bad couple of months, haven't he, even with his driving in WEC at Le Mans. Just not good stuff, and his Formula E season has not been going well recently, so he's going to want to have the best possible result. It's going to have to be told to move over. It's going to have to be a sure thing that Jerome is quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. Through flies Jarno Trulli, just up in front of Simona de Silvestro now. So Simona is tucked right up. Oh, and that's Fabio Lima going into the back of de Silvestro. I think they've both got away with it. No, Lima hasn't. His front left wing is flapping like nobody's business. Oh, and it hurtles off, and Daniel Abt has to take evasive action, and that could be the safety car potentially that Nelson Piquet Jr. is gambling on, because we've now got a bit of end plate on the circuit. Still Silvestro is trying to get past Jarno Trulli though, meanwhile. Go for it down into the chicane. Nicely done. She saw Nico Prost do it. Thinks I'll do the same. Thank you very much.
Jarno Trulli looks in trouble here. He's just sort of heading backwards. It's you know, not... Oh, it hurt the back right pod's hanging off the Simona de Silvestro's orange Andretti car there.
So the Swiss drivers are interesting. They're really getting into it in this race. Alex Fontana had a terrible start. He got swamped down. He dropped right to the back, and he's currently circulating behind Sakon Yamamoto, which I'm fairly certain is a sackable offence. And then we saw Fabio Lima hit fellow Swiss driver Simona de Silvestro. They both have, it looks like cosmetic damage. They should be okay. But it was a messy moment for Lima. They're all 3 of them down the back of the field. But then Simona de Silvestro pulls off a pretty good move against Jarno Trulli, and it'll be interesting to see if she can make her way forward a bit. Not expecting a lot for any of the three Swiss drivers in this race. But it's nice to see them get stuck in, I suppose.
Something decent happening for Karun Chandok. He's had the most terrible luck all season. And if it could go wrong, it generally did.
Here comes Yamamoto into the back of Jarno Trulli, coming down into Prince Albert. And that is not good news at all. The Yamamoto was trying to get past. Now he's not quite sure where to go because he's ridden up onto the back of Jarno Trulli. And I don't know where he's going to get to.
Third crash of the weekend. Yamamoto just completely misjudged that. And yeah, the old Ameling boys, luckily it's the end of the season because
the marshal's telling him to go straight down the runoff area, but Yamamoto's continued.
Where is he going? Yeah, he's done quite a bit of damage today for the Ameling boys.
Now here we go on board. He tried to go around the outside of 2, inside line into 3, and just...
This is us coming down the start-finish straight. You're going to start going to a left-hander here, bumpy left-hander in turn 1, not as bumpy as it was on yesterday. And then you see him, he's going to start moving out, and just... Yeah, drove in the back of him.
Yeah, I mean, just misjudged.
Jarno clearly was doing a bit of lifting close there, but yeah, you got to realise that that's probably going to happen.
Yeah. So Oliver Turvey, meanwhile, is using his fan boost out there, even though he is 2 seconds back from Jean-Eric Verne. So there is Oliver Turvey, just using it presumably to try and set the fastest lap. But there's waved yellows down there, all to catch up with the guys in front as they slow for the yellow flag. Situation.
Unusual choice.
It is still just a yellow flag. Not quite sure where Sakon Yamamoto has ended up out there on the circuit, but it looks like we're still going racing. Lap 8 of 29 in what has already been a frantic London Visa Eprix. And there's some more debris. That is on the exit of 3.
So Sakon Yamamoto does what Sakon Yamamoto does. A complete mess of a overtaking move. Although, to be honest, Jarno Trulli was dropping back through the field pretty quickly, so maybe Yamamoto was just putting him out of his misery. This was bad, and apparently it's Yamamoto's 3rd crash of the weekend, so I'm kind of wondering why Ameling Aguri chose to hire him. It's not exactly surprising. For the love of God, it's Sakon Yamamoto. There's a lot of debris on the track now, because there's been a few incidents in this race, even though there's not been a lot of overtaking. And I'm genuinely surprised they haven't called a safety car, because there's pieces everywhere, and Sakon Yamamoto is somewhere. But at the moment, we're almost a third of the way through this race. Sarazan still leads, which surprises me. And we're just carrying on. We're heading towards the pit stops in another, should be 7 or 8 laps. And not much has changed.
Yeah, pulling their hair out if that is the plan. Now, good work from Nick Heidfeld. He's pushed it all the way back to the pits, and as a result, he can now hop in his own car and head out onto the track. Now, he needs to be careful because the minimum pit stop time here is 1 minute and 20 seconds, and so he's been in there for 3 minutes now, so just needs to be careful not to be too quick. I shouldn't be so flippant. It's a great job from Nick to get the car back. Meanwhile, Sarazan has pulled out 1.5 seconds now at the front of the field.
And car 27, Jean-Eric Verne has got a penalty for a drive-through penalty for using max power overuse, which means it's probably spiked going over a bump or something.
Yeah.
But those are the rules.
So that's a drive-through penalty for the Andretti driver, Jean-Eric Verne, in 9th place. Heidfeld's back out in his 2nd car, which he'll be hoping he doesn't have to push, and heads back out onto the track. But he's got a lot of laps to do, and he's a couple of laps down as well. So a real shame there for Nick Heidfeld as he emerges, actually just with Jarno Trulli on the circuit, and I think they're both a couple of laps down. Actually, I can't remember if they were ever teammates actually, but his teammate Stefan Sarazan is here, leading the race in the black and red Venturi car, the Monegasque team. And there you can see confirmation of the drive-through penalty for Jean-Eric Verne. They're allowed to use between 130 and 150 kilowatts in terms of the power, and if they've used more than that, then that is not good news. Sebastian Buemi uses his fan boost. He's quite a way back from Sam Bird, actually, Sebastian Buemi.
So a couple of cars running into issues. I don't actually know what went wrong with Heidfeld's car, but he dropped right down to the back of the field and he's been in the pits for a while. He's now out in the spare car, but he'll be lucky to make it to the end on the energy he has to make that last a long, long time. He's come out just behind Jarno Trulli, who has also had a really bad race. And Jean-Eric Vergne very sadly has a drive-through penalty. He's been one of the stars of this London weekend. He made some very good overtakes in the first race. He had a good start to this one, made 4 places up. And unfortunately that's going to be for naught, because drive-through penalties in Formula E tend to be quite painful because the pack is usually quite close together. And other than that, Stefan Sarrazin still leads, and we should be heading into the pit stops very, very shortly.
Tail then, with Loic Duval behind him, like seriously nose to tail.
This is a seriously tight pit lane exit as well.
Sarrazin's stop actually was half a second slower than Duval as they try and get out of the pit lane. They come out in front of Nick Heidfeld. That's a depressing sight for Heidfeld, isn't it? As de Grassi comes around now through the left-hander, floors the throttle and rejoins the circuit in front of Salvador Duran. So Salvador Duran's pit stop was 2 seconds slower than Lucas de Grassi, and as a result, de Grassi is past Duran and up into a net 7th position. So as we thought, Nelson Piquet stays out again into the final corner, and he moves into the lead of the race. 1 more lap than everyone else, because D'Ambrosio, Bird, Buemi, Senna and Prost are all in 2. We're on board with Sebastian Buemi as he pulls into his Edam's garage.
So for the final time, we are doing the car swaps in the first season. It will be back for the second and third season. I think after that it stops. But for this last pit stop, it hasn't really changed too much on the track so far. Nelson Piquet is still circulating. He managed to save a lot more energy than everyone else, and that helped him a little bit in the first race. He's going for it again. He's saved in a big way in this one. We'll see if it works out. We are over the halfway point now. Stefan Sarrazin still leads and has done a pretty good job up front. Nothing else has really happened so far.
0 as they come out of the pits, and that's a comfortable retaking of the advantage there.
Sam Bird,
and Sam Bird is going to get into side by side with second place, but is not quite close enough as they come into the left-hander. And that means that he is up into 3rd position, but he's right up behind Loic Duval. Nelson Piquet Jr. is down to 3% of usable energy, but he should be coming into the pit lane any moment now. Oh, and a spin! Buemi spins! The potential championship leader! Can he get back going again without hitting the wall? Yes, he can, but he's lost a couple of places now. What on earth happened there for Sebastian Buemi? He's now right nose to tail with Lucas de Grassi, and de Grassi's thinking, goodness me, this has worked out quite nicely.
Has he ever?
Wow.
What happened there? Locked the rears a little bit. Oh, de Grassi just did the same thing.
Now they're pushing. We've seen this so many times this season. They take it steady in the first car, then they've got in the second car. They know how much energy they've got to play with, and goodness do they play with it.
Well, that was dramatic. Sebastian Buemi spins. That could be what cost him the championship. He only lost 1 place, I think. I wasn't really paying attention to who got past him. But now he's got Lucas de Grassi right behind him, and we know when these two are next to each other, fireworks tend to go off. Piquet has only just come in the pits, and it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out. Sam Bird as well did a good job during the pit stops. He almost got alongside Jerome D'Ambrosio. Those two will be fighting for second. Stefan Sarrazin still leads. Not sure how long that's going to last for, but D'Ambrosio and Bird behind him. It looks like this is going to be quite an exciting second half to the final race of the season.
Then Piquet becomes the champion, as it stands at the moment. So if you're de Grassi, would you want to pass Buemi and let your arch rival Piquet win the championship?
Good point.
Fascinating stuff.
Knowing the feelings that those guys have for each other, probably not.
So you can see the order on the tower on the left-hand side of the screen. Stefan Sarrazin is the man leading the way, but here comes Buemi in the blue and yellow Edam's car, followed by de Grassi. Then in the middle of all that, you've got Salvador Duran. So let's have a look at what happened again to Buemi. The camera pans with the Dragon car, just spins it.
Yeah, it looks like he locked the rears. He was probably still on the brakes at that point. He hadn't gone to throttle yet.
That was the one position he lost to Senna.
He was lucky not to lose a lot more, wasn't he?
He was lucky not to hit anything or get trapped or have to do a 3-point turn.
Locked the front and then the rears. Yep. Yeah, Alain Prost suddenly got a bit nervous there. He's been quite relaxed today, but you can see the pressure.
Daniel Abt passing Simona, no, thinking about passing Simona de Silvestro, while meanwhile, oh, into the wall, Fabio Lima.
That'll be
Now, will that be a safety car? Fabio Lima out of the race.
That should be a safety car, surely. With the marshals out there.
Fabio Lima into the wall, and this looks like it should definitely be a safety car. Whether or not they call it, I don't know. But this would help Nelson Piquet, because if the safety car comes out and bunches the field up, he's got a lot more energy than everyone else because he went 2 laps longer, and he wouldn't have to use any of it to catch up again. So it's a win-win for him. The championship is really close. Buemi at this point has it by 4 points, I think they said. And Piquet is in 10th, which is only 1 point, but his teammate's in front of him, so he can get another point for that. But Buemi's got fastest lap, so I think if Piquet gets that, then that's the swing that would win him the championship. It's a bit complicated at this point, and we're going to have to see what happens in the last 9 laps or so. There may be a safety car coming out, we don't know yet. I think Jarno Trulli's retired as well, which wouldn't surprise me because his car has taken a few knocks in this race. So we're still just carrying on at this point. Stefan Sarazan is still leading the race. I don't think he ever won a Formula E race, so I'm interested to see what happens to him.
But behind De Grassi is Salvador Duran, who hasn't really been on it. Down they come, 8 laps to go now. Sarazan leads, and this is the final 8 laps of the Formula E Championship. This final 8 laps will show us who's going to take victory. Oliver Turvey's using his fan boost, so's Nelson Piquet Jr. Coming down towards turn 1.
And Heidfeld let Piquet through there.
So, but who? There's De Grassi, but behind that is the Team China cars. There they are. So, in what order are they?
Still in the same order.
Heidfeld's got out of the way. So yeah, Turvey in front of Piquet. So now they both need to hunt down the men in front. So Piquet now is going for fastest lap. He's gone full speed, used his fan boost. He's going for the fastest lap this time around.
And he's got to get past his teammate. The last thing you need to do is get held up when you're going for the fastest lap, especially by your teammate. And Oliver Turvey will be doing all he can to help out right now.
Yeah, exactly. On board with Nelson Piquet in 10th place at the moment. Into the chicane. The right, the left.
9-10 there.
You can see the concentration in his eyes. He's tucked right up behind his teammate Oliver Turvey. And
not a great sector 2 though.
No, not too good. But we'll see whether it can all come together in the final sector. And here's a battle between the 2 Dragon cars up the inside, and that is Jerome D'Ambrosio. So actually Sam Bird's into second. We've missed that, but Sam Bird is into second place. Great move from the Englishman, presumably on Loic Duval. So Sarazan leads, Sam Bird is second. Fantastic performance from him. Third now is D'Ambrosio. Duval drops from second to fourth in a matter of corners. That must have happened coming into that final chicane. And that
So we only had the safety car out for 1 lap, and Nelson Piquet didn't really make any gains out of it. I don't even think he got fastest lap despite using his fan boost, and he still hasn't passed his teammate. Buemi also didn't make any progress, but Sam Bird did fly up 1 place ahead of Loic Duval, and Jerome D'Ambrosio followed him through. This has been a really good weekend for Jerome D'Ambrosio, and it's still Stefan Sarazan leading, but he's got Sam Bird and D'Ambrosio right behind him. So that's going to be the excitement coming to the end of the race, and we've still got a championship to settle at this.
So lap 23 of 29 here in FIA Formula E.
Nelson's caught him in a hurry.
Yeah, so he's right up behind Salvador now. There's our race leader, Stefan Sarazan. Second is Sam Bird. Third is Jerome D'Ambrosio. Fourth, Loic Duval. Fifth, Bruno Senna. Sixth, Sebastian Buemi. Seventh, Lucas de Grassi. Piquet's through. Piquet's got past Salvador Duran. This is the battle between de Grassi and Buemi, but Nelson Piquet is up into 8th place, and as a result, should be in a position to win the championship. We'll get the points calculations to you in a couple of moments. As it stands now, Piquet would win by 1 point. We've got 6 laps to go.
Championship leaders 6th, 7th, and 8th. Piquet 1 point ahead. Here we go.
Goodness me. So, from a seemingly impossible position, Nelson Piquet Jr. has hauled himself back into the lead of the championship. What a thrilling race this is turning into, and we've still got 6 laps left of it. Boom, around the outside at 13.
What a move.
Fantastic. So, I should probably calm down a bit. Sorry, everybody. But Nelson Piquet...
Well, a lot changes in a single lap. Turvey lets Piquet past as I think everyone watching expected to happen at some point. It may have happened a little later than most people would have thought. And then, I'm pretty sure it was the same lap, he smashed past Salvador Duran, just straight around the outside. It looked like Salvador Duran made it a little bit easy for him. I don't know if he lost momentum in the corners before or just Nelson Piquet set him up perfectly. But he's now in 8th place, and that would be enough to win the championship by a single point. And there's only 4 laps to go, 4 or 5. So not long left, and at the moment, Piquet is on top.
Yeah, final lap, halfway through it. Buemi desperate to get past. He knows he needs to.
Do we watch the championship battle or the race win battle? Oh, great run out of there. Great run by Buemi out of that corner.
Nose to tail with Bruno Senna. Coming through the left-hand kink, down towards these 2 lakeside chicanes. This is it. This is the final half a lap to decide the first ever FIA Formula E champion. We're around the streets of London and Battersea Park, and the conclusion of what has been a thrilling season. Loic Duval has got no energy remaining. Look, he's got 3%. Sarazan's hit 0%. Race leader Stefan Sarazan has hit 0% of usable energy, and now Buemi's going to try and attack. Here comes Sarazan down towards the final turn, but he's hit 0%, so he could be in big trouble in terms of... oh, and it's all kicking off here, and is Senna going to get past?
And
No! Senna holds on! Win for Sarazan across the line. Third is second, but Senna holds on, and that means as they come towards the final turn and across the line, Sebastian Buemi crosses the line, and he is furious with Bruno Senna, because all of that means that Nelson Piquet Jr. wins the FIA Formula E Championship.
does he know yet, though? That's the question. Look, they're waiting for the numbers.
I hope they didn't just hear my commentary and go on that, but that's the way it seems to be. But
Dear Lord, what an ending. Buemi misses out on the championship by the slimmest of margins, and honestly, the last 4 or 5 laps, he hit Bruno Senna, I would say, nearly 10 times. I do not know how they, A, did not crash, and B, he did not get past, but somehow he just couldn't do it, and Nelson Piquet Jr. is your champion by a single point. That's not the end of the drama, because Stefan Sarazan did take the checkered flag, and I actually had to check, because I was certain Sarazan never won a Formula E race. I did have to check, and really sadly he got disqualified. He had 0% for like the last half of a lap, so I had pretty much figured it out. I am disappointed for him, because I would like to see Stefan Sarazan have success. But that means Sam Bird wins in his home race. It's been a mixed season for Sam Bird, and he should have been a title contender, really. He had some misfortune at points, but I'm glad he took a win here. Nelson Piquet winning the championship, it's incredible, and really, when you think about it, that spin from Sebastian Buemi cost him the championship, losing that 1 place to Senna. In many ways, Senna helping Piquet win is a very strange sentence. And this was an incredibly exciting end to the Formula E Championship. This was the best race of the year, and it really makes me want to keep watching. I was holding my breath on that last lap. The amount of times Buemi drove into Senna is just astonishing. But it's over now. Piquet won the championship, but let's go over the final standings for the first ever Formula E Championship. So Dams take the Constructors' Championship well clear of everybody else. Dragon jump up into second place after that really good finish to the season for Jerome D'Ambrosio, and Loic Duval scoring decent points in the last race. Audi dropped to third, with the Drivers' Champion winning team of China Racing in fourth, and Virgin in fifth. In the driver standings, Nelson Piquet Jr. takes the championship by a single point from Sebastian Buemi. Lucas Di Grassi's only 10 points behind in third. Jerome D'Ambrosio, after his amazing London weekend, jumps up into fourth, and Sam Bird, after his win in the final race, scrapes fifth place, dropping Nico Prost out of the top 5 for the first time in this championship. So that is it for the first season of Formula E. Nelson Piquet Jr. is your champion. We will be back to do the second season at some point. I might start it in the new year when the next Formula E season starts. Maybe I'll run them concurrently so that you have old Formula E action along with new Formula E action. I do tend to talk about new Formula E fairly often. My thoughts on this first season. There's a lot of things that confuse me. And I remember watching it at the time and finding it really exciting, and I absolutely love Formula E. I love Formula E to this day. It's quirky in many ways, but the racing tends to be good and also very exciting. That hasn't necessarily been the case in the first season. It's definitely not as good as I remember it being. Some of the races have been a complete drag. I think Moscow and Berlin in particular were very, very dull races. But at points it has been really good, and that last race was incredible. I think the first race with the crash on the last lap kind of set the bar pretty high, and it really struggled to meet those levels. There's been a few races here and there. I think Monaco was pretty good, or was it just a bit of Monaco that was pretty good? I think a lot of it is they need to work out the tracks. That London track, as exciting as that last race was, it needs more overtaking spots. It's too narrow and there's nowhere to get past. And I think you could say that for a few of the tracks they went to in the first season. The swapping the cars, it's different, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense and it doesn't make the racing better. One of the things I brought up at the start of this was that there were a lot of penalties in Formula E. There wasn't as many as I thought there would be in this first season. Maybe that's something that happens later, but there were a few here and there, and some of the races you had a lot and others not so many. I think in that last race was only 2, so it wasn't that bad. The action's been pretty good. Cars tend to run pretty close together, which if you watch Formula 1, Formula E is a godsend because they're very different formulas in many ways, but the best thing about Formula E is the pack tends to run pretty close to each other. So my feelings on the first season are, it was good, maybe not as good as I expected, but I still enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to looking at the second season of Formula E, which I'm not sure I've watched any of it since it happened, so that's going to be a nice trip down memory lane when we get to it. So make sure you subscribe to the channel because you don't want to miss out on that. We're heading to the end of the Formula 1 season as well. So there'll be a reaction video to the predictions there. There'll be new prediction videos next year. Livery reviews will be happening again at some point. We'll be bringing back some old series as well. We've got Macau and the Motorsport Games coming up at the end of this year. There's so much motorsport stuff. I'm going to be covering as much of it as I can. So definitely subscribe. It's a very exciting time in motorsport. I'll be back with more videos next week. There'll be 3 or 4. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to get done. I'll get as many as I can out. I do my best, okay? Leave a like. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. As I said, definitely subscribe so you stick around, come back, watch some more videos. I'm going to try and do some live streams as well. It depends on time and having a quiet house, which is quite a rarity. We'll see. So with that, thank you for watching and have a good one.